Welcome to the Vet to Vet podcast. I'm your host, Bill Fitters. Joining me as I talk to fellow veterans about their military experiences from Vietnam to Operation Enduring Freedom. This podcast is sponsored by Tugs, talking, understanding, growing, and supporting. Even big ships need a little help sometimes. Feel free to hit the subscribe button below to get our latest Vet to Vet interview. Feel free to like, share, and leave a comment below. And thanks for joining us. We're sitting down today with bosun mate / corpsman, Navy Kevin Cook. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Bill. How are you?
Good. Let's start off talking about a little bit before you decided to join the military, like where you grew up at, stuff like that, family history.
Well, I grew up in Evansville, and small community, small town, pretty normal childhood. Yeah, there was a lot of us with the last name Cook, in the town. So a lot of that had to do with my grandfather, Francis Cook.
Was he a busy man?
He was a very busy, he was a busy man, all right. F. Cook and Sons Excavating.
Okay.
He had that business with my Uncle Jim and Uncle Steve. And my dad helped out a little bit earlier before he worked at GM and everything. But everybody knew who Cookie was, and I was so proud that he was my grandfather.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I was a class of 1982.
Okay.
And I'm not shy to say that I think the Evansville school system, especially my high school years, just gave me an opportunity to, I better go. I wasn't a model student. I really wasn't. I did some sports in high school, but I was more concerned about where the next soiree was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And the concert, when's the next concert at the Coliseum and everything. I worked part-time at Z104, my later part of high school. But growing up as a kid, it was a lot of fun because seeing my grandfather work as hard as he did, he worked every day. He got up, went to work every day, came home at noon. My grandma had a grilled cheese sandwich or a butter burger, and off back to work he went. And he was very much a very big part of my life. I had a mom, dad, sister 2 years older than me, and we lived right on East Main Street, which is only a few houses down from the old. There was a little corner store where the Casey's is now. There was the East Side Grocery, and there was the East Side Steakhouse that was there. So my mom would run me down to get her a pack of cigarettes down at the store or something back then. But I loved Evansville. I really did. Until I got older as a high school, there wasn't anything there for me.
Okay.
So I pretty much hung out in Madison or Janesville and that kind of thing. But military has been all over my family on my mom's and my dad's side of the family.
Okay. So your grandpa had a big influence on you. Was he military?
Yeah, he was part of the construction battalion. He was a Seabee.
Oh, okay.
First class machinist mate. And he served in World War II in the Pacific over in Hawaii.
Okay.
Covered in tattoos.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
He was 6'4", white hair, covered in tattoos, from the chest up, his arms, everything. And one of my fondest memories of him was every Memorial Day, every 4th of July, just seeing this man in his dress blues or dress whites carrying the flag, being in front, carrying the flag. There's a lot of his cronies like Cal Anderson and a bunch of others seeing him in the parade. But this is the story that I got when he came home from the war, is one of the tattoos that he had on his arm was a hula girl, and when he came home, she was nude.
Oh, okay.
There was no hula on the hula girl. So my grandma told him, you better go get a skirt on her. So he did, and I never seen the nude one. But when I was a kid, he'd be sitting in his chair, this big, powerful man, He was thin, 6'4". To me, he was like John Wayne.
Oh, okay.
He talked the part in a lot of ways. And I'd walk over to him, and I'd get on my knees on the floor, and he'd be sitting in his chair, and he's just kind of looking at me. I go, Make her dance, Grandpa. Make her dance. And he'd take his forearm and he'd do this, and the hula girl would shake her hips because of the muscle. And my grandma, Margaret McKinney,
Okay.
or McKinney was her maiden name, but she would go, Cookie. Oh, come on, Marg. And he's making her dance. But yeah, that's part of the military, family military. It goes way back before that.
Yeah, the McKinley, you're saying they go quite a ways back.
Yeah, my uncle Harry McKinney was the American Legion post in Evansville. It's called the McKinney-Hatlovig post.
Yep.
And Harry McKinney, I have a great picture of him too in his uniform. He served in, he was killed in action in France, and he's buried in France. And I have all his letters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that he wrote back home on his way to France, and when he was in other stations. I think Texas was one of the places he was at before he went over to France. And his brother, Archie, was also he served in World War I. And then, my grandfather, my Grandpa Cook, of course, in World War II. On my mom's side of the family, my great-great-grandfather, Thomas Ewing, served in the Civil War.
Oh, okay.
He mustered out of Camp Randall. I have a really nice picture of him in his uniform. I have that in the house too. I like to do my family genealogy, family history, and my sister joined the Navy. I joined the Navy. Some friends joined the Navy. My Uncle Jim, my dad's brother, my Uncle Jim, James Cook, served in the Army. And
What was his? Was he different than everybody else? That he didn't join the Navy?
I don't know. I want to ask him what was
Has he ever been tested?
I should ask. I have a lot of great respect for my Uncle Jim. Yeah, he served in the Army, and I got a picture of him at one of the barracks that he was at in France, and he got to visit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he got to visit or see the grave of Harry McKinney. And I have all the letters, notifications that was given to my great-grandmother saying that he, died and whatnot. I have the watch he was wearing at the time, his personal effects. I have those. And, you just hang on to that, and you just want to know, what did they see? What was going on?
Yeah, those letters will kind of get into his mindset and his emotions. That's pretty special.
Yeah, it really is.
And just a disclaimer, I know Jim Cook. He's a wonderful guy. I'm just inner service stuff, so love you, Jim. Sorry to interrupt you. Just had to,
No, that's fine. That's
gotta
fine.
patch things up with Jim.
It's always been the military's always been around me my entire life, and I never thought that I was gonna join. I never thought about joining until I was a senior in high school, and then I didn't join till I was 19.
Oh,
My sister was on the delayed entry program. I was on the delayed entry program. My friend Scotty Sebro, I went to boot camp with. But the funny thing is, during this thinking about joining, the recruiter asked me, he looked at me and goes, "What's your story?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, what is it you're going to do?" I go, "I tell you what, where do the Navy women go to boot camp at?" He just kind of looks at me. He goes, "Orlando." I said, "I tell you what, you get me Orlando, I'll sign today." He gets on the phone. Literally, he gets on the phone.
wow.
Yeah. He says, "Okay, you got Orlando?" I said, "I'm in."
Things that make you go, I'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my sister, she went in before I did. She was 2 years older than me. She went in a few months before I did. And Scotty and I went in June of 1983.
Okay.
That's when we went to Orlando.
And what'd you do? How was basic for you?
Honestly, piece of cake.
Really?
It really was. I mean, because he says our company commanders told us that if you do what we ask you to do, you're not going to get mashed.
Oh, well, I wish they would make that a promise to me or whatever, but yeah, okay.
No, yeah, boot camp, I'll be honest with you, the toughest part of boot camp was being in Orlando, Florida in June and July. You're outside marching and
A little warm.
yeah, you got that funny tan line when you take the Dixie cup off. You look like was it George Hamilton? Nice dark and
Oh, yeah,
tan and
yeah.
take off that hat. Yeah, what is that? But honestly, it was a lot of hard work as far as studying. There's a lot of test taking you have to do,
Yeah.
that kind of fun stuff. But it was it was my first time I got to be around other ethnic groups, which I was never subjected to living in Evansville. Because quite frankly, Bill, I didn't go anywhere as a kid.
Right.
Yeah, I went to South Beloit to get lottery tickets with my dad once, or
Yeah.
I went to Iowa for a taekwondo tournament, which I took fourth place in the Midwest as a early teenager. So, we went to MEPS in Milwaukee. Scotty and I were there, and that night before we left, we were at this bar across the street from the hotel, and we're just,
Right.
drinking age was 18. We're slamming stuff down, having a great time.
Absolutely.
I fell in love with this girl that was going into the army, and we were just, But it was scary in a way because you didn't know. It was the unknown. Here you are, no longer at home.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And people that knew me growing up, especially in high school or anything like that, I wasn't very popular in school, which was okay.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I was my own self, and my friends were elsewhere most of the time anyway. But, we woke up in the morning, we got on the plane, and Scotty and I, we sat next to each other on the way down there, and I remember him saying to me, he goes, well, what do you think we're going to do when we get there? I said, well, it's going to be late. We'll get on the bus probably, and they'll take us to the barracks or whatever. And that's what happened. We drove to the barracks, and they threw us into this big room. It was nighttime when we got there, so they showed us where our rack was. And in the morning when we woke up, there were so many people, a big line of people here, and then across from us, big line of people. And I'm standing straight across from this big African-American guy, and I think he was from Georgia, I want to say, or South Carolina. And I was like, this is my first real encounter with other ethnic groups. There was everybody, Latino, Asian Americans, you name it. We're all there. And we got our hair cut. They marched us out of there, and we didn't know how to march or anything at that point, but they took us to where they did the haircuts, and I was the first one to go in, and I sat in the chair, and I literally said, Bill, yeah, just over the ears here. I did. I said that. And he goes, oh, okay. And it was all gone, and I'm like, oh, boy. I walked out, and everybody's like, oh, wow, look at that. And I said, yeah, you're next. I didn't get it then until halfway through boot camp that you're all the same.
Yeah.
You're all the same.
Yeah.
Same haircut. Same everything. You are all the same.
Same uniform.
Yeah, same
Everything.
uniform. Yeah. And that held true all the way through the 4 years that I was in the Navy. You're all the same.
And it's weird because, like, you get your basic book, for basic training, and you're paging through it, and it's like, and they don't put names on it because they just throw pictures in there, and you're going, I don't know if that was me or that was some other dude. I mean, everybody looks the same.
Well, I was in for a special treat that during boot camp, my sister was still down in Orlando. She was already done with boot camp and all that, but she was still down in Orlando. And I remember my company commander calling me down. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And he took me out of the barracks area down a hallway to this other office, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what the hell? There's my sister.
Oh, nice.
And it was really good to see her, yeah. It kind of, brought home back a little bit.
Yeah, that. I didn't have any visitors. I was in Texas.
Yeah.
My family didn't love me, obviously.
I'm not a letter writer either. I didn't write a whole bunch of letters home or anything like that as far as, this is what's going on, this is where I'm at type crap. I never did any of that. As close as I was to my mom, I was very, very close to my mom. Yeah. When my mom talked, you listened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she smoked like a chimney, cursed like a sailor. And yeah, I had a lot of respect for my mom, yeah.
Did Jim understand her since he was in the Army? Love you, Jim. Just
yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But, see, my grandfather passed away right before I graduated high school. And that I took very hard.
Yeah.
Like I think
a role
everybody
model like that.
Yeah, I think everybody in our family did. But and I have his dress blues uniform has the CB patch on it.
Wow.
Yeah, first class machinist made. I have his dress blues. My sister has the dress whites.
It's nice to hang on to all that stuff.
Yeah. 2 months before I graduated high school, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, probably made you push a little harder at basic or what have you, just thinking about what he went through.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. I think you're right.
So where'd you go to A school, or is that what they call it?
Well, see, that was my biggest mistake joining the Navy, was not picking my job or a school what it is I wanted to do. I had high ASVAB scores, but I said to myself, I was smart. Kevin, why don't you go out to the fleet and see what these jobs do? Pick a school, and then you can go. So to answer your question, my apprenticeship training school was basic seamanship in Orlando, Florida for 4 weeks right after boot camp. Oh, I had a little bit of leave. I came home. But I was to report back for apprenticeship training school.
And was that to a ship, or was that to a base, or how'd that work for you guys?
Well, right after we had what was called, I think it was called the Blue Jacket. It was a mock ship in Orlando, and you're there learning how to do knots, how to do underway replenishments and tie up to a pier and things like that.
Navy guys and knots.
Yeah, I know.
We talked about that a little bit before going on air.
Right.
You guys are crazy with your knots.
Yeah, and if you don't get it right, they'll let you know too.
I bet. No wonder why you guys are so good at it. Me and rope, nope.
Well, and it, the funny thing is, for graduation of apprenticeship training school, on the weekends, me and my buddy Rogers would rent a car and go down to Daytona Beach.
Oh, nice.
We take some of the Navy girls with us. We go down to Daytona Beach and, and have a good time. That was Daytona.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm from Evansville, Wisconsin. I've never seen a beach before.
Right.
So, but upon graduation from apprenticeship training school, the class was maybe a third the size of boot camp. So the instructors would have their hands with manila envelopes with your orders.
Okay, yeah.
Where you to go. And I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, wow, or I'm excited. Maybe I can be on the West Coast, and that'd be great, San Diego, whatever, and that kind of good thing. So when I got up there, they called my name, and I stood in front of the instructor, and he was actually one of my company commanders from boot camp too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, great. He was a great guy, all right. And he pulled the orders out and looked at him, and he goes, he started shaking his head. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Give it to me. What is it? He says, I hope you like to work and bust your ass. I go, okay, well, what are we talking here? He goes, well, Cookie. And he called me Cookie, which felt good because that's what they used to call my grandfather, was Cookie. And he goes, well, Cookie, you're going to the USS Suribachi, AE-21, Naval Weapons Station Earl, Colts Neck, New Jersey. What? We have something there in New Jersey, of all places, New Jersey? And I was like, oh, I don't like the sound of that. That's what I'm saying inside my head. And
Right.
After everybody got their orders, he called me in his office and he says, no, really, I'm telling you, you're going to be busting your ass. I go, what is this? What are you telling me? He goes, this is an ammunition supply ship, not an oiler ammunition. It is strictly ammunition. You do nothing but work.
Yeah.
I said, well, we'll get Liberty and stuff. He goes, I wouldn't count on a lot of it. I was like, nope. So I went home. After that, I went home. I had another week off, and I told my parents, this is what's going on. This is where I'm going. And my mom goes, New Jersey? I go, New Jersey. So it was frightening.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd had anything out in New Jersey myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It was the trip to the ship that made it most interesting. I flew into Newark, New Jersey, which is, I think, the armpit of all airports. At that time, I think they renovated, but it was horrible. And there was a gentleman in uniform picking me up, and it said Kevin, just said Cook on it. And I grabbed my seat bag, and I said, yeah, I think this is for me. We got inside the duty van, and we're driving back to Naval Weapons Station Earl, and we were getting close to turn into where the gate is, and all I seen were a whole bunch of lights way off in the distance. I mean, a whole bunch of like white light bulbs, white lights everywhere. And he goes, and his name was Brunel. I think it was Chuck Brunel. And he goes, yeah, that's our ship, the one on the right. And I go, all I see is a bunch of lights. Oh, I know, you'll see it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we turned into the gate. We had to show our identifications. We got into the gate and we drove and we drove and we drove. I go, my gosh. He goes, yeah, the pier's 3 miles long.
Wow.
3 miles long. And I said, why is it 3 miles long? And he says, well, the people of New Jersey and New York felt a lot safer if the piers were that far off that if a ship went up, blew up, nothing would happen. And he goes and he starts laughing. He says, oh, by the way, if it does go up, it'd take the whole state of Jersey and half of New York. And I'm like, at least I wouldn't feel a thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I got to the ship.
Whoa. And we're good.
Yeah.
I think we found it. All righty. So we made it to the ship, and
Well, they showed me where my rack was going to be. And this was just until the morning where they figure out, what they're going to do with me. But I couldn't believe the size of the ship. And it's not a big ship compared to others, It was a supply ship. And so when I walked up and, had to salute and everything and showed them my ID card and request permission to come aboard. And permission granted. And they took my orders and took them up to the office. And they showed me where my rack was. And I got seasick.
welcome to the Navy.
I did. I got seasick with the ship tied up at the pier because I was just going up, down.
Oh, my.
And that's all it was doing. And I never got seasick again. And let me tell you, I've been in some of the roughest waters in the North Atlantic that I loved it. But yeah, so the next morning when I woke up, nobody knew where I was supposed to go. And I'm like, well, where am I to go?
Right.
Well, just have a seat. We'll figure it out. All right. So a week went by. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to get in trouble. I know. So, and this senior chief petty officer walks by. And his last name was Earl. It was Senior Chief Earl. He looks at, and you talk about an old salt. I mean, this was salt-beaten face with a beard, just a salt-beaten face. And he had stacks of ribbons. He goes, what's your story? I go, what? He goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm waiting to find out where I'm supposed to go. I'll tell you where you're going. You're going to 2nd Division. I'm like, oh, all right.
At least you're going somewhere.
I went to 2nd Division deck. Yeah, I chipped a lot of paint, red lead, haze gray, and that kind of thing. And so I was 2nd Division deck. I got my permanent bunk and went from there.
So bunk, 3 stories?
We had 3 bunks. It wasn't my permanent. My first one was a top bunk.
Oh, nice.
It was a top bunk, and the person in the middle was Petty Officer Baker, and he ran the casino in the after bosun's hole. 2nd Division, we were aft. So we took care of everything from mid-deck aft.
Okay.
As far as basic seamanship. And he ran the casino on Friday and Saturday night. Seeing the ship, you get paid in cash.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So...
Because there isn't no credit union nearby.
No. So what are you going to do? You're going to play cards. Me, I played cards. And he come out and told me, everybody called him Bubba. And he said, he goes, I'm telling you, Cookie, don't come down to the casino. I go, what? He goes, no. And he shows me the dice. I'm like, okay. I won't. But yeah, so 2nd Division deck is where I was at.
Oh, fun. And how long were you there?
2nd Division till I left to go to Hospital Corpsman School.
Oh, wow.
So I was on that ship for a long time because we set sail. We set sail actually after my 3rd day there.
Oh, so you guys weren't there too long.
No, we took off right away. We were supposed to go to the Caribbean to do a cruise there and compete for the Battle E down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So
Yeah, Cuba.
not a lot there.
No.
Not a lot there. But that's where we were supposed to go. That's not where we went.
Okay, where'd we end up?
Grenada.
Grenada. Okay.
Yeah, we ended up in Grenada.
All right. And when did you find out you were going to Grenada?
Yeah, it was shortly after when they said we were going to be going to Puerto Rico and Cuba and that kind of area first. That was the first foreign land, even though it's part of the United States, Puerto Rico, because I was on main deck and I go, hey, what's that? I saw out from the far distance this land and this old salt in our division. He goes, oh, man, that's Puerto Rico. Why are we going past it? We just steamed right past it. And so later on that afternoon, the captain got on the 1MC, and I remember what I was doing at the time. I was actually, with my little hammer, I was at one of the big bits where where you tie the line up to.
Oh, okay.
I was on one of the bits. It was really rusty, so I was chipping away and getting ready to put red lead on it. And the captain goes, "Attention, crew of the USS Suribachi. We've been called by Washington, D.C. and the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan." Big Reagan guy.
Yeah.
And he said, we've been called to Special Operation Urgent Fury at the island of Grenada. And there was a lieutenant fresh out of college on the ship, too. And he's skinny guy, tall. And here I am in a T-shirt, my Suribachi ball cap, and my dungaree pants, and my boondockers shoes. And I turn and I look at the lieutenant and I go, "What's a Grenada?" He goes, "I don't know. This is news to me." And so everybody just stopped. It hit reality that we were actually being called to an operation.
Right.
Now, when I signed the papers going into the Navy, Bill, I never in a million years would I have thought that something like this was going to happen.
Right.
Everybody takes that chance when they sign their name to the paper that this,
It's a blank check.
that this could happen.
Now, 2 days prior to that was Beirut.
Yeah,
Did you guys get word of that being
Yeah.
out on the ship?
yeah.
I would have thought Grenada, that's got to be close to Beirut. I mean, that's just my thinking process.
Yeah, we didn't even know why we were there.
Oh,
We weren't told anything, why we were going or what was going on. And it wasn't until, honestly, after everything was over with, did we actually know what was going on. The only thing they told us was there's a bunch of medical students at the college at Grenada that are being held hostage. That's all they told us.
now that came about Reagan, Operation Eagle Claw, the Iranian hostage taking of the embassy. So Reagan, that was under Jimmy Carter. Reagan did not want same thing happening with those college students.
Yeah.
So that's why he was like, we're not going to sit around and wait for something. We're going to go in and save our people or get our people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the easiest war or conflict or whatever you want to call it. It actually ended up being more of a surprise for the U.S. So we get there.
Well, we get there the day before the invasion occurred. I was on starboard lookout, and you're pretty high up there. You have port lookout, starboard lookout, and we're looking out, and we weren't in general quarters at that time. General quarters where you put on your helmet, your vest, and you have your 45, you have all this kind of stuff. But the day before we got there, we're getting really close. And I'm on starboard lookout, and I look off in the distance. I mean, it was out there a long ways, which was kind of weird. This isn't Lake Leota, stuff floating there like a stick or something. I'm like, okay, well, what's that stick doing there? I didn't know what the stick was. And I go, "Gunny?" And, and he was the officer, and he comes over and he goes, and he had a toothpick in his mouth. He goes, "What's going on?" I go, "Oh, this water's a little too deep for a stick just to be sticking out of the water." And he gets his binoculars up there and he's taking a look and he goes, "What?" And he runs into this room that's called combat.
Okay.
And combat is where they have sonar, radar, and that kind of thing where they'd be able to tell what was going on. And he made 3 or 4 trips back and forth. He's like, what comes back? What? And I heard him talking to the captain and the XO, both that were on the bridge at the time, saying that it's got to be a periscope. And it wasn't ours.
Oh,
Because,
Yeah.
with being an ammunition ship, we had a sub with us for this that kind of protected us. Because in a conflict, especially, and this is what I was taught, that in a conflict, in the ammunition ship that's in the battle group, that's the first one to go up. Because if you take away the ammunition, it's very limited what
right. What everybody else can do.
what else they can do. Is this right or wrong? I don't know. I mean, this is just what I was told, you know. But so yeah, the very next day, you know, general quarters came very early, and we were supposed to be on watch at the time. My section, second division, was supposed to be on watch, and I was supposed to start at messenger, where you pretty much just stand in the bridge area and do whatever, you know, go get coffee or something, you know, before you go to your next duty on watch. But Gunny says, I want you on the big eyes. I go, what's that? He goes, come here. And he showed me what the big eyes are. And anybody that knows the big eyes knows how intense the telescope is. It's not like binoculars, but I mean, this brings everything right to you. And so that was my job on the first day of the invasion.
What's the distance with those? That you can...
Oh, I wish I knew. The one thing I didn't understand about the Grenada invasion in our role, the USS Suribachi, is how close we were to the shore. You know, how close we were. And if we had to do, in the next day, if we had to do a replenishment, we'd go out.
That's weird.
We'd
Yeah.
go out, and then we're back in. And why didn't they just keep us out there?
Maybe that
So-
was the safest place for you guys.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the jets were taken off from the aircraft carrier, mostly helicopter invasion. The jets were like second or third day of the invasion. It was mostly, I think there were the Black Hawk or Apaches that were going through there. But what he told me to do is you're on the big eyes. I want to know what's leaving the shore, what's coming to shore. If anything is coming, you know, I want to know anything that you see that. I said, okay. I don't like what I saw. I don't really want to go into it.
We're good.
Even though the PTSD therapy that I went through recently, because I hung on to this bill for over 30 years before I even knew what the hell.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things happened in my life leading up to this that you know, it is what it is. But we were there for I think 3.5, 4 weeks. That's how long basically it took, and then we hung around even longer. We stayed there even longer. A frigate, I think it was a frigate, a destroyer, and us stayed there. The carrier didn't stay there after it was basically all done and over with.
Yeah, I think once they captured the airport and had that under control, which took a while, then yeah, I could see why a carrier could move on.
Yeah, what I was told was Russia backed the Cubans and Grenadian rebels,
Yep.
you know, backed by Russia, totally had this island to be a military arsenal,
Yep.
complete with nuclear missile silos, digging into, you know, that was their plan, was to do that. And from what I understand, Reagan caught wind, said, yeah, nope.
Yeah, there was 300, I can't remember the exact number now, 300 Cuban Special Forces members who were specialized in construction. That was their side job. And they were in Grenada. And they are the ones that were teaching the Grenadian rebels, partially sponsored by the Soviet Union, Russia, I guess, at that time. So yeah, this was no walk in the park.
No, especially, you know, in the beginning when we saw the, you know, special forces, the Rangers, SEALs, and everybody else that was coming on shore, you know, and there was sandbag bunkers all along just inside the beach area, with them. And that's why to this day, I wish I could ask Gunny, why did you want me on the big ice? But you saw him in these bunkers right there just past the beach. So with the helicopters repelling, they had special forces repelling down and everything else, and one of them getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I dropped like a stone, and Gunny came over to me yelling at me, "Get your damn eyes on the big eyes!" And so the first and second and third day, I had to be on the big eyes. And then from there, my job was to be a rigger, rigging ammunition. And I was proud to have served there doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry in a way because what they said happened and what really happened are two different things.
Usually is.
In the paper. And that was my first interaction with the media. We're only going to tell you what you need to know versus what you did know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was other guys on the ship that told me a bunch of stuff that they saw. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And they're like, well, what do you see? And I told them what I saw. And they're like, yeah, and not a whole lot of talking.
Yeah.
There were some of the old salts that have seen stuff. They were Vietnam veterans. God bless them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I went through that, I have so much more respect for our brothers and sisters that went through what they went through. Because growing up, in small town Wisconsin, you're just like, yeah, okay, you served, okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't until
take that for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about your grandpa.
Yeah. I every day I was on that ship, I thought about him every day.
What he seen, what he tasted, what he felt, what he, everything. Yeah. It's in Vietnam, kind of the government was telling the U.S. citizens one thing with the media, and what was actually happening in Vietnam was a totally different story.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me that Grenada was flipped around that way as well. And God bless you for being there. I'm sure you don't. I don't want to say you don't wish you were there, or wish you never were there, but probably in my opinion, probably not a better guy to be there than you.
Well, I appreciate that. It wasn't until recently that I started wearing. I was very shut off. We'll probably get into this in a little bit here, but I was very shut off from a lot of things. I shut myself off.
Yeah. And that's step one.
Yeah.
I think you and I have talked about that before. That step one is that denial.
Yeah. Well, when Grenada was over with, I was really glad, that it's over finally, and we went back home.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. No, we didn't. We went back through and did the Caribbean real quick. We didn't stay long. We did do the Battle E, and I bowled the highest game ever in Cuba. I bowled a 269 in Cuba.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was lit too. I did start drinking very heavily. And it started then.
Step two.
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger in high school, I'd have a few, barley pops, the kind of thing. But then we went back home. And then my sister, I was taking leave, and my sister picked me up at O'Hare to take me to Janesville to see my mother. And the funny thing, this is funny because I was so tired. I didn't have my seat bag. I just had enough clothes for the weekend type thing. And I flew into O'Hare. And I'm walking down. I was like, okay, where am I going to see my sister? And I saw this blonde. And she was walking in front of me. I was like, that's cute. And so I walk up, and she turns around. I was like, oh, my God. And I think she colored her hair or something. It was my sister. I was like, ow. And she goes, oh, come on. I got the car out front. We'll go see Mom. She had this Firebird. And because she was at Great Lakes Naval Base at this time.
Okay, so
My
she
sister
transferred up, from
Yeah.
Orlando.
Yeah, And she took me back to Janesville, and she goes, "Now, Mom doesn't know you're coming home." I didn't tell her. I was like, "Oh, okay." Opened up the door, and she saw me. She just started crying. And it was really good to see her. It was
Yeah.
really good to see her, yeah.
Probably a good comfort for you as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, just to be home.
Yeah. So then, do we go back out to sea then?
Oh, yeah.
Or leave?
We never stayed in Jersey. If we did on the weekend, we'd go to New York City and just have a great time. I never never in a million years would I have thought that I would experience stuff in New York City and Port Authority and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we went back out to sea right away on our first Mediterranean cruise, and the quartermaster on our ship was a unique individual. Have you seen the movie Under Siege with
I
Steven
have.
Seagal?
I have.
In the beginning of the movie, when he takes the guys on his jumper and he's straightening his tie, that actor's name is Damien Chapa,
Okay.
and he was the quartermaster on the USS Suribachi.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and anyway, we went out to sea, and Damien came up as he was at the quartermaster's table, and he says, "You ready to go on this med cruise?" I says, "Yeah, whatever. We just left." He goes, "Well, it's 6 months plus." And I go, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "A Navy tradition is go cut your hair, get a buzz just like boot camp again, because by the time you get back, it'll be Navy reg and you're all set to go."
Oh, nice. Good idea.
I go, "Oh, all right, you gonna do it?" He goes, "Yeah." I mean, good-looking guy, He had the flowing, the flowing hair, Italian guy, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." I went down and buzzed my hair, and the next day I saw him in the ship. He didn't do it. I was like, "Okay." But yeah, the Mediterranean cruise was different. Saw a lot of countries fast.
Mm-hmm.
The first place was Ibiza, Spain.
Okay.
I loved Ibiza. Oh my gosh, this little island, and
Yeah.
all the streets had American names like Dallas, San Francisco Avenue, and they had a Playboy Club there. You don't tell Deck Division where that is. Well, we know where it's at.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun. I got to see the culture, different cultures. I mean, this is the first not United States area that I've ever been, so it was a lot of fun.
Spain is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Madrid was pretty fun when I got to Madrid before. Yeah, that was different.
What year were you there in Madrid?
83.
Ooh, just a couple years before me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you probably wouldn't see my poster up.
If you see this guy.
Don't let him in.
Yeah, but yeah, Spain was a lot of fun. Ibiza, we had to, of course, you're anchored off, you get in a Liberty boat and you go on shore and you have a good time. But we worked so friggin' hard. We did underway replenishments all the way. And on the way there, we did an underway replenishment, and I did take photographs of it,
Nice.
of the USS New Jersey, the
Okay.
battleship. And it's just, what a beast of a ship. I mean, with the wooden decks and the guns. Everywhere you look were guns.
Mm-hmm.
The Suribachi had 2 sets.
That's it.
Yeah, and I got shells that we target practice right before Grenada. We did target practice, and I didn't know if they knew something was going on and they ordered this to happen or whatever. I don't know, but I have 2 shells. I have a brass and a stainless steel shell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What do you know what caliber they were?
God.
I can't remember what size guns those things ran.
Yeah, I still have them in the basement, But when I got back to O'Hare, when I brought them home, I got frisked. I got thrown in this little room, and they frisked me, and asking me what I was doing with these. They thought they were active, live rounds of something. I was like, "No, they're souvenirs. I'm bringing them home."
Here, let me tap on it with a hammer. No.
Yeah, right. But France, we went to France next, and a friend of mine from Detroit got us tickets for Jethro Tull.
Oh, yeah.
So got to see Jethro Tull in concert.
In France.
In France, in Avignon, France, yeah. It was a good time, from what I remember.
I was going to say, that's France.
Well, I got pictures. I don't have my piece of advice, and I told my cousin Brian Cook, that's Jim's boy, Brian. He's got 2 boys in the Navy now, and I told them both. I says, "Do me a favor, do yourself a favor, wherever you go, take as many pictures as you can."
Yeah.
Because Bill, I think I only have maybe 10 pictures of. Most of them are France and Jethro Tull. I got some of Istanbul when I was there, but
Istanbul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will just say this. Folks in America think our low income have it rough.
Yeah.
Istanbul, the classes there, um, those people would love to live the way that our lower income people live.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, just big time.
It was different. You know, we got there later because, you know, one thing there's when we were in France, me and the guys, we went to McDonald's and they served beer there in McDonald's in France. And then later on that night, we were at this club or at this bar. And it wasn't quite night yet, but we were sitting there just having a beer and can't understand a word what the TV was saying. But this one guy across the bar looked at us and goes, "You Americans." And I looked at my buddy Jimmy Burns from Lincoln, Nebraska. Jimmy would look at me, "Yeah, what are you saying?" I was like, "Yeah, we're Americans." And he goes, "You pigs!" You know, they were very anti-American.
Yeah.
You tried to liberalize France, you know. I only had like one beer in me, and I told him, I says, "Hey, if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking German."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was just me being a smart mouth little punk, you know.
Right.
And then we went out. We had a little bit of a Donnybrook, you know. Fists were flying, and we were getting the worst end because it was like 4-3, you know. And there were some Marines there, thank God. And
The Navy infantry.
Navy will start it, Marines will finish it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I figured. But yeah, that was France, and then we took off. We went to Sicily and Italy. Mm-hmm. In every country that we went to, the first thing they did was hand out little maps, and it's called the Gut.
Uh-huh.
And of course Jimmy Burns, what a great guy he was. "Give me that!" And grabbed this map. "All right," and stuff in his pocket. I go, "We can't go there." He goes, "Are you kidding me? That's telling us where to go."
Right.
That's where the fun is. I go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And this is my first med cruise I did too. You know,
Okay.
so I was like, "Oh, okay." So true. And when we went to Naples, you know, there was the map of the Gut. Don't go there. And who did we see? We saw our captain, the chaplain, and a couple of senior chiefs with them.
Yeah.
They were in the Gut. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it. Do as I say, not as I do. I get it."
Right.
But I loved Italy. Sicily was my favorite of all the countries I've
Beautiful
been
country.
to. Yeah, I've been to almost, I think, 16 countries. And Sicily, by far, is my favorite. The landscape, the food, definitely the food. Mm-hmm. When they bring out our first night in Sicily, Mount Etna, at night, it still flows. Mm-hmm. Red lava, it just trickles. And I always wanted to, if I ever find that special somebody, I want to take her there and you know, that
Nice.
kind of thing. Yeah. But anyway, we're out there having a good time. And always, as soon as you get off the ship, there's people there that know you're American and want to show you a good time. We'll take you.
Yeah.
And so me and about 5 other guys were like, "Oh, okay, we'll get something to eat first." We went downstairs to this restaurant. And they came out, Bill, with the biggest pan of lasagna I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Is there mushrooms in there? I can't have mushrooms." I'm allergic. So they set down this pan, and there was like 6 bottles of wine, and there was just candlelit stuff down there, and live music was playing, you know, and everything. I was like, I saw this kind of stuff in movies. Here I am seeing it.
Yeah.
And I, of course, after what happened in Grenada, I drank very heavily. I wouldn't stop. But I do remember that night pretty well. Then we went to Istanbul, Turkey area. I mean, that was a long trek. We went way over there, and we were anchored off Kolchak, Turkey.
Okay.
And that's when you have a choice. You can take tours if you like, you know.
Yeah.
So I got on a bus with a couple of other guys from First Division because nobody from Second Division, a lot of them had duty. They didn't want to go to this tour, but I did. And I saw this beautiful, I think, mosque, a bunch of gold on the inside of it. It was just beautiful. And me and the guys afterwards, we went down the black market.
Best place to go.
Bill, you've been to the black market, right?
I have.
Oh my gosh, it was you.
You can buy anything but the kitchen sink, and you can order the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I bought an Onyx chess set there. So we were late in the day. This is the first Med cruise, and I remember this was very late. It was actually nighttime. It's just getting dark, and that's when things like close up, you know, in a hurry. But we went into this restaurant, and I sat, you know, about 10, 15 feet away from the front door. My back was to the door. And so me and a couple other guys, we were ordering a couple of drinks, you know, and the bartender was like probably 20 feet from us. It was kind of narrow. You've been in those places.
Yeah.
It's really narrow.
Real narrow.
Yeah. And so we were just having a drink, talking, and I was getting ready to order another drink. So I'm looking at the bartender, and he looked at me, and he smiled at me, and he was, you know, he had his hand in the pitcher, drying this pitcher or something. And the loudest crash right behind me. Loudest crash I've ever heard in my life. Just bam! Somebody bursted in, and
Wow.
all a bunch of bullets were just spraying in that bartender's head. Just
Damn.
and I was kind of like in shock until the guy next to me in the booth there, he grabbed me and we went underneath the table, and he goes, "Just play dead." And people were screaming, you know, it was just mayhem. And I didn't know what was going on.
That's crazy.
It was I've never been so scared in my life than that.
Did you ever find out who it was? Or
No, because right after that happened, there was two others with us, and the other guy across from me was from a smaller town than me and never seen or experienced life that much at all. And I remember him just crying,
Oh, I bet.
and he wet himself under the table, and I felt really bad, and it seemed like eternity, but people were trying to run out.
Mm-hmm.
That's telling me, okay, there's nobody else. The guy with the gun is not in here now. If everybody's starting to run out now,
Right.
so time lost itself, and finally, my buddy goes, "Well, let's go." I'm like, I ain't freaking leaving. But we did. There was sirens going because it's martial law there. You know, there's a lot of people with machine guns and everything standing in the streets. So we got out. We were standing against the club and everything, and they didn't speak English.
Right.
So what were they going to ask us? What were we going to tell them? But they were talking to some people about 10, 15 feet away, just outside the doors, and I'm like, okay. Like that meme of Homer Simpson just blending back into the bush. That's what I was. They were like, okay, let's go back to the ship. Let's go, and we're gone.
Yeah.
And we did not look back. And we got back to the ship, and we were just saying to each other, what did we just see? What was this?
Hard to process.
It was very hard to process. I only saw the bartender. I don't know if he owed him money or what, or if you couldn't. I spent a lot of years asking what the hell was that about, because between Grenada, between Istanbul, and other things that happened, it really played with your mind. And to forget things, I would drink. I would drink a lot. You know.
You got to ease that internal pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that when we go to foreign countries, we just look at what our issues are. And like Spain and Turkey, when the Gulf War started, there's a separatist group in Turkey. There's a separatist group in Spain. I can't remember what they were called in Spain or Turkey. But anyway, the Turkish didn't want to go after a fellow or an Arab country. The separatists, they were all for it. So the U.S. gave them lots of arms, lots of money, and what have you, to help us go after Al-Qaeda. And then Turkey got mad, and we're telling our military people, your families probably should go home. It's not safe for them here off the base. So they did that. But then, I can't remember what country it was up there, decided to have a civil war. Russia back for one side of it. And this little separatist group that the United States was supporting ended up getting sold out by us and the Turks. Well, actually by us, because we kind of protected them from Turkey, or from the Turks. And then we pulled away our protection of them, and basically Al-Qaeda, I can't remember what this country was, that was going through a civil war, and Turkey all combined in on this group. So I guess what I'm getting at is, even when I was in Spain, there was a separatist group that when they give out these maps that say, hey, don't go here, we go there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just human nature.
You bet.
You know, I have been at gunpoint many times, being in those areas that I shouldn't have been, because they were socialist areas and what have you. That's when you play the dumb American. I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Turkish. I don't speak Italian. I'll take that back. I tell you, in Italy, I never had that issue. But in Spain and Turkey, absolutely. It was time to play the dumb American.
Yeah.
But as soldiers or military members, we sometimes get wrapped up in that. We kind of get caught up in that. When I was in Spain, the socialist movement was sky high. I mean, there were terrorist attacks. There was a steakhouse right off, not too far off of base, off of the base housing area that blew up. This is probably why you were in as well. In Rome, the airport got blown up. All this when military members were part of being targets.
Yeah.
So every day we were on our toes.
Yeah.
It didn't have to, it might have been the Cold War, but I'll tell you what, you were always on your toes.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes, like in your case, we get caught up in that. And you can't unsee that. And it's really difficult for the average person to comprehend that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they feel that like we do.
Yeah.
Because seeing somebody deceased by gunshot, or in your case, we'll stay with gunshot. That stays with you forever.
Oh yeah, it's not something that goes away. Especially, look at it. Look, we've talked about this before. Especially with everybody in law enforcement, EMTs, and all this, all the trauma that they're exposed to daily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's.
And you grew up in the same time period I did.
Yeah.
You want something to cry about?
Yeah.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Oh yeah.
Men don't cry.
Yeah.
You. So what? You seen it. Move on.
Yeah.
It ain't that way. It ain't that way.
Yeah.
That stuff stays with you. And your mind, either it has a choice, process it or shut down. And it's easier to grab a bottle to make your mind shut down instead of trying to process it.
Well, at that same period of time in Turkey, the boys of 2nd Division took me out for my initiation to be one of the boys.
Okay.
Of Deck Division. And I still remember so many of the guys in 2nd Division, and a great bunch of guys, really. I mean, you made friends very quickly, because if you're on the midwatch on the fantail and you made enemies, if you're sitting on the bit at midnight and nobody can see you, somebody can just walk behind you.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was initiation time, and we went out to this place to eat. I still remember it really well, what it looked like. But I sat down, and they ordered a pizza. And there was weird stuff on this pizza I've never seen on a pizza before. And they said he'll have lion's milk. I go, the hell's lion's milk? What are you talking about? And I still have, to this day, I have the empty bottle. One of the guys brought it back.
Really?
Yeah, they brought it back to the ship because I was a babbling idiot by the end of the night. I don't remember. I was pissing on statues of Ataturk and everything, and they're like, get him out of here. But it was called Yanni Rocky. And
Rocky.
I drank 3 shots of that, and I was a babbling idiot, and I used to think I used to hold my liquor pretty good, but
I have not met many people that can hold Rocky. I'll just say it doesn't matter how. You can be a veteran drinker. Rocky is the Turkish version, and then there's I can't remember what the Spanish in Korea had the same thing.
Yeah.
Just this liquor that will
Yeah.
it sets you right there.
Well, I'm just glad I didn't get a tattoo. I have one on my shoulder that I passed out in New Jersey, and I was the first to pass out, so they picked one out. He'll have that one, and that's how I got my second tattoo. But yeah, lion's milk, it was something else. And I remember waking up on the ship, and I felt like total crap.
Mm-hmm.
And little Jimmy Burns from Lincoln, Nebraska, hey, Cookie, you were messed up last night. You think? He said the same words when I woke up with a tattoo. I'm like, you were messed up last night. Okay, thanks. But after that, after we got done with Turkey and everything, then we had to go to Diego Garcia. They call it the Rock. In order for us to get there, we had to cross this line around the globe called the equator.
The shellback.
Trusty shellback.
Yeah. And I don't know the secret handshake for this shellback thing. So maybe you guys are kind of like all hush hush about it. Right.
And there was a lot of shellbacks already on our ship, and a lot of old salts on the Suribachi. There was a lot of old salts. And I thought, okay, what the hell did you guys do wrong to be on this ship still if you're an old salt and you got stacks of ribbons? And why are you on this ship? Because to me, at that point, I still felt like it was punishment. I mean, there was times when we did 3 unreps a day. Yeah. But it was so beautiful going there, though. The water was so smooth, and the weather was always nice, nice and hot, and it was just so beautiful. And then they said, okay, we're going to be taking part of the shellback initiation starting tomorrow. Each division is supposed to dress up a person as a woman to be King Neptune's sea bitch. And that's how they put it. I don't know. It's probably called something else. And we're like, Hooper. Everybody in second division, we pointed at Jeff Hooper. It was going to be Jeff. He was from Georgia and very feminine looking, but he wasn't, But we dressed him up. I have all the photographs, and I put them on Facebook at one time, too.
Oh, nice.
But the winner, and there's a reason why they do this, because if your person won first place in the beauty contest, that division gets to go first in the shellback initiation. It's very important because there's a very good chance if you're a polywog going through the initiation, there's a very good chance you're going to throw up. And you don't want to be inside somebody else's spit up.
Right.
So Jeff Hooper, he won first place.
Nice. Congratulations, Jeff Hooper.
Yeah, he looked absolutely stunning. And so we got to go first. And what they do is they gather garbage for about 2 weeks. They gather all this garbage, and there's water and garbage and stuff. And you wake up in the morning and you have your skivvies, your underwear, on top of your dungaree shirt, and it's over your blue jeans, your dungarees. You have your skivvies over that, and you have to walk on all fours. And the shellbacks that are already shellbacks, they've got pieces of fire hose, and they'd flog you.
Oh,
as you're on your hands and knees and you're going. So you eat this disgusting breakfast, and then for the bug juice, Kool-Aid. Bug juice, they use salt instead of sugar.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but there was about 10 different stations on our ship.
Oh.
And the first one was, there's a very large man with no shirt on, his belly covered in lard.
Oh, nice.
And there's a green olive, and he puts it in his navel, and you have to grab it with your mouth. Not, okay, I'll take that. It wasn't that way. So I was like, crap. You get up there, and he just grabs your head, and he's doing this, and you're chasing this olive you know, and you finally get it, move on to the next station. The next one after that, Bill, was a big barrel, one of those burning barrels type sizes, filled with water and garbage.
Oh,
And you're right behind, you know, you're in a line and you're going to these stations. And the person ahead of me, Andy Eckes from Chicago, did not tell me what to say. You're supposed to say,
Oh.
because they'll say, hey, Pollywog, there's a pickle in that barrel. When I bring your head back up, you better have that pickle in your teeth. And Andy didn't tell me what to say because if you don't say the right thing, they'll dunk you again. So long story short, they take my head, they dump me down, pull me back. Pollywog, where's that pickle? And I didn't know what to say. I said, I saw it. It's on the bottom. I couldn't reach it. Very well. You know, you go to the next station.
nice.
Yeah, I was like, this is pretty good. You know, I'm going to the next station, getting flogged all the way there. And there's this crate. And you open this crate, and you're supposed to get inside this crate and do whatever the shellback tells you to do. Well, Andy Eckes was talking to me, and the person got out of the crate and went, and then it was Gunny that was at that station, and Gunny goes, Cookie, Eckes, get in the crate. What? You know, so we both got in this crate at the same time. He took a banana or apple peel, put it in my mouth, an orange peel, and put it in Andy's. He says, when I close this lid, I'm going to take my fire hose, I'll flog it 10 times. I'm going to open this crate, and you two better change positions and change peels. Ooh. We're like, oh my gosh. Eckes looks at me, and he was funnier than hell. Great guy. How are we going to do this? I don't know. Closes the lid, and I just dropped, and there was so much garbage in there that was so slippery. I just dropped. And Andy just like Spider-Man
Oh,
over.
top.
Yeah, and 8, 9, and he goes 10. I go, the peels. We switched peels, and there we are looking at Gunny, and we passed. We did it.
Nice.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of other stations, Bill. Right near the end, there was King Neptune. And it was, yeah, there's King Neptune. And Jeff Hooper, the sea bitch, sitting next to him looking pretty. And there was a big cookie sheet filled with Tabasco sauce.
Oh.
And so one at a time, you get up there, and I was watching what was going on. I'm like, oh, come on. And we're getting flogged all the way there. The sea bitch would dip her toe into the Tabasco sauce, and you're supposed to lick it off a toe. Okay, so we do that. And the very last station was a big, big crate of water, almost as big as this room,
Okay.
full of water. Fresh water, clean water.
Clean water.
Well, it was clean when Second Division got there because we went first. What they do is you sit on the side of it, and then they take you and they dunk you over backwards and pull you back up. What are you? I'm a trusty shellback. And then you go take a shower and get ready because after everybody does the initiation, out on the flight deck we had smokers tournaments, which is boxing, which I did a lot of. Mm-hmm. You could tell. And I was one of 3 boxers in our division, but there was some smokers tournaments and barbecue. We had a big picnic. It was a great time.
Nice.
Yeah,
So how many times did you cross the equator?
just once.
So you never got to flog anybody?
No, God, that made me mad.
No justice in this world.
I know. My cousin Brian, his son Tyler just crossed. He's now a trusty shellback, which I'm so proud of him, and him and Nolan both. They're both in the Navy, but yeah. And I'd like to know what they're. From what I understand, not from Tyler, but from other people that are telling me, they really had to tone that down. From
What a way to ruin a tradition.
well, yeah. Well, we didn't have women on our ship.
Well, yeah.
You know, we didn't. There was very few women on ships back in 1983. You know, there were some on carriers, and I think, but there wasn't a whole lot of them. But yeah, we got to be. We did the shellback initiation. We were in Diego Garcia for not long, but my gosh, there's nothing there. That's why they call it the Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, we went. We went back to the same way, and went back. So
So we went back to Jersey?
We went back to New Jersey, came home for a week, and then another Caribbean, which is always fun. No. But the funny thing is, and a lot of people still, when I tell the story, there's only 3 other people that can back me up on this, and this really happened. We actually went through the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh.
And I swear on my son's grave, I swear on my mother's grave, what I saw was real, what I saw. And that was, I was on, again, starboard, port. I was on port lookout. Nelson was on starboard lookout. And out of nowhere, Bill, and I mean out of nowhere, it was not a cloud in the sky, okay? Not a cloud in the sky. And out of nowhere, this World War II American plane just flew right in front of our ship and went off into the distance. I reported it. Nelson reported it. There were some guys out on main deck. They were first division because they were forward. We were aft. I couldn't tell you their names now, but I know Kevin Buford from Boston was one of them. We're just standing there watching us go. And all of a sudden, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. True story.
Never went through the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm kind of happy for that.
Yeah. A lot of people will probably be listening to this going, oh, okay. But, you know,
No.
Nelson and I, we talked about it. And even the captain came out right after it disappeared. And he asked me, or no, he asked Nelson because I can hear him. He goes, what'd you see? And he told him, and the captain called him a dumbass and turned around and walked away.
But he's a captain.
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, well, there was a lot of things we did on the ship to keep busy, especially with the med cruises being so long. There's a lot of times that you don't get to a port and things like that. Like you work out all the time, and you know, and so they had me do this, you know, workout routine one time. So I actually walked into the barracks and I saw one of the guys struggling to do a sit up. I go, what the hell? He goes, when the ship's underway like this, there's no way you could do a sit up. I go, bull crap. So I got down, you know what's coming. Mm-hmm. So I got down on the floor and I'm like, yeah, watch this. He goes, no, you got to do it with a towel on your head. I go, oh, okay. So I put the towel on my head. I go, and they go, oh, okay, on the count of 3, you got to do a sit-up. I go, not a problem. I got this. 1, 2, 3. I went up to do my sit-up. They pulled the towel off and my face went right in this guy's ass. I was like,
oldest trick in the book.
Yeah, well, this is my first med cruise, and
yeah.
even after all the crap I said, yeah, they waited until now to do this crap, but I was like, thank God.
Those are the kind of things that make us closer, though.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you get to do it to somebody else that's fresh on the ship.
Right.
Or something, but that's even better.
I'm going to make somebody closer to us. My turn.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a guitar on the ship, too. So there's a lot of things to keep busy. I had a guitar in the after bosun's hole, and I'd go down there and play guitar for a while, electric guitar, and had an amp and everything. And we only had one real gym, and it was always taken up by Ranahan, and, you know, he's...
Yeah, one of them guys.
Yeah, but, yeah, after that med cruise, came back to the Caribbean, came back, and did one last med cruise.
And then at what point did we decide to become a corpsman?
My mother wasn't doing well. She had her first bypass when I was a senior in high school. I was actually in cross country at the time when she was having it done. I was at a cross country meet, and one of the girls cross country people, my mind wasn't there because I know my mind wasn't well. And Diana Dreher was her name. Great runner, great person. She picked up my number and says, "Here, you need this." I was like, "Oh, great!" As soon as I got done, my dad took me to the hospital, and she was having her bypass surgery. And then when I was in the Navy, well, they told her there's going to be a point where you're going to need the surgery again. And she's like, "Yeah, I know." But she just wasn't the same after that. And I wanted to be someplace closer to her because my parents were divorced at this time.
Okay.
And she was living in Janesville on North Randall. And I said to myself, I want to be close to my mom. And I went up and I asked the personnel department in the ship, I go, what schools are in Great Lakes? And actually one of the guys that was in the office was in my boot camp.
Huh.
And my first Christmas I spent in Montclair, New Jersey with him. His name is Dave Grulich. And he says, well, I know Corpsman School is. I go, I want to apply. I want to be close to my mom.
Right.
And not too long after that, I got it.
Nice.
Yeah, and we were actually steaming back to the U.S. after that med cruise, and since I was going to be a corpsman, we were steaming just outside of Italy, and we are supposed to have a man overboard drill. And I was like, we all knew it on the bridge. So I said, when is the man overboard drill? Well, we're not sure. Oh, okay. And about an hour later, I'm looking and I see way off in the distance. I'm like, because you're always supposed to be looking.
Right.
And I see this speck way out in the distance. I was like, oh, okay, this must be, how'd that get there? That must be our dummy we got to go get for the man overboard drill. And I saw it's orange. I'm like, hey, Gunny, is this our man overboard drill? And he's doing this again with his binoculars. He goes, no. And it was no drill. They said, no drill, man overboard, man overboard. And I was like, oh, great. And he looks at me and goes, Cookie, you're going to be a corpsman, right? You got corps school? Yeah, I got corps school. And he goes, well, you're going to go with them. We're going to be steering that way, and then I want you to get in the boat with them. Let's go. Because I was going to be messenger next anyway. I was like, ah, crap. Do I got a mark on me? So I did. I went with them over there, and there was like 4 of us in the boat. We were getting pretty close anyway, but they let us down, and we had to retrieve it so we could lift it up. But when we got over there, it was, our Liberty boats are pretty steep. It's not like we're going to be able to bend down and get them and put them in. So we had, I can't remember the name of the egg crate looking stretcher type thing that we had. And the petty officer told me, he says, okay, Cookie, you jump in at the feet, or on the right, you be on the left, because he was just bombing in there.
Mm-hmm.
You be on the right, you be on the left. Okay, so I can't remember who it was from First Division was over there. So we got in there, and I'm looking at his face and everything, and it's not good.
Yeah, don't look at the face.
No, well, nobody told me that. I think, oh.
Yeah.
And then it was the boat moved back a little bit so we can get the egg crate stretcher down.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy on the other side, I can't even remember his name, he grabbed the life vest in the back of his head and he kind of tried to pull it towards him, and I had to reach down and grab the pants. So we got him so he's kind of like horizontal, and we're just trying to roll him in. And so I got in front of him and grabbed the leg. Well, the flesh fell right off, and I was grabbing bone, and I'm just throwing up, But you're there to do a job. You keep going. This ain't about you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So we got him in. They brought him up, and we got back, and I'm throwing up over the side, and so was my buddy. We get back to the ship, and they had to take all the food out of reefer number 1 and put it into reefer number 2 to bring the corpse up and put it inside one of the reefers.
Damn.
We named him Omar. Yeah, we named him Omar.
Everybody's got to have a name.
Well, they do.
It's like everybody knows who you're talking about.
Right. So we put him in the reefer, and we were pretty close to Italy, so they must have said, okay, we're going to Italy, we're going to drop off the body. When we got there to the pier, there was, this hearse, and it was really weird looking because it had a huge cross on on it. All you see is this. I go, oh, there must be Omar's ride.
No need for a sign.
Yeah, no, don't need a sign.
Omar. Omar.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and later I found out, talking to the corpsman on the ship, he noticed that the back of the skull was bashed pretty good.
Mm.
So that's what he determined, what he thought. He's not a doctor where he could formally cause a death, because he says that had to have been it, because what else would do this in the water?
True. I'm not a water person, but
No. So, yeah, that's something that you still smell. That is something you still see. That's still something that's just not going to go away, like the other things. So, I got my corps school, got to Great Lakes, and I bought a Camaro. My cousin Larry helped me buy a Camaro in McFarland, I think it was. And that was my transportation on the base. I had a 76 Camaro LT.
Ooh.
Yeah, living on the base. And I was supposed to start corps school in our first week, here I am from the fleet, got some ribbons, and that kind of thing. And I think I'm all that in a bag of chips. But Bill, that's when the drinking really took a hold after finally getting off that
Ship.
and so easily accessible. My liquor of choice wasn't beer, it was Jack Daniels. Don't give me the damn Coke, just give me the bottle of Jack and shut the hell up.
Yeah.
There was one night I went out and I drank so much Jack Daniels. I got back to the base. I walked into my barracks and I punched a lieutenant and I choked a chaplain.
Ooh.
And they threw me in this room. I don't remember it. They threw me in this room, and I woke up in the morning with one of our classmates there, and he goes, "They're sending you back to that ship. You're going back to that ammo ship. You're not going to be here anymore. You have no idea." And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You have no idea what you did." I go, "No," and he told me. And because I've had a lot of nightmares, I've had a lot of dreams about a lot of things that I've seen already, and the only way that I could, quite frequently, and the only way that I really felt that I wouldn't see these things anymore was to be inebriated to a point where I black out. So that wasn't the only thing that happened, and I didn't get the message then that, hey, you got a problem with this crap, Not just this. You got a problem with other things.
Yeah, alcoholism is a number, but it also is a magnifier. So drinking to your blackout is a way of kind of like flushing the toilet. Your mind just goes,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it was shortly after that. I was in corps school, and I loved my corpsman instructor. Great guy. And right after I graduated corps school, I fell in love with Angie Norby out of Janesville, and I was really young, and so was she, and we had a son together, and we were living off base, and I wish I would have known then what I know now. I put her through a lot. And we put each other through a lot. But the number one thing is we really loved our son. We really loved Josh a lot. And I'd be working, and at that point, at the Great Lakes Naval Base, I was working in occupational health preventive medicine. And they sent me down to Fort Sheridan to get my audiometric technician license. So I was doing hearing tests and diagnosing ear abnormalities, or whatever you want to call them, by doing tympanograms and things like that. And Petty Officer Crook and H.N. Cook, it was Cook and Crook doing the audiology. But a lot of times on my way home, I would walk home if I didn't drive all the time, because she made me get rid of the Camaro, and we got a kid. You can't have a Camaro.
Right.
So I bought a Ford Pinto, the piece of crap. So that's why I walked a lot.
Station wagon or
No.
hatchback?
Hatchback. Yeah, it was a piece. And, I'd stop home and I'd stop at the bar. And they knew me well enough by then that I just sat at the end of the bar and they said, a bottle of Jack, no Coke, leave me alone. Nobody would talk to me. I'd get home and then not a good stage. This happened quite a bit. In March 28th of 1987 was me and a couple that lived below us. He was a North Chicago cop and his wife. The four of us went out, tied one on pretty bad. Got back, and I think I tied it on even more. But I woke up in the morning, and she and Josh were gone. And the North Chicago cop, our friends, they came up and she says, his wife, "You have no idea what you did last night. She left you. She's gone. She took Josh and she's gone." And I just sat on the floor in the kitchen. I go, I got a problem. And that March 29th of 1987, I went to my first meeting. And I still go to meetings, and I haven't had a drink since. I have never relapsed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I don't mind if other people do it.
No.
Like I've had, relationships where they, some of them drink, some of them didn't. I don't care. I just know I can't.
Right.
If you want to have a bottle of wine at dinner, I don't care.
Right.
Don't expect me to have any.
Right.
So, but no, Josh was only a year old. She went back to Janesville and lived there. 2 months later, I was discharged from the Navy, even though they wanted to keep me in, and admit me into CAC level 3, they called it. And if it wasn't for a petty officer that stepped in and said, no, I've seen him in meetings out in Waukegan because I go and he's there. Oh, okay. So I got out of the Navy.
And then what did we do?
Went back to Evansville.
Okay.
I went back to Evansville. I stayed with my grandma for a while. She was still around. God bless her. All 5 foot of her, Spitfire. I was working at Baker Manufacturing, and I stayed with the Sveum family on East Main Street. I stayed, Rich and Rob Sveum. Robbie was still there, and I stayed there for a little bit too, but I was getting ready to go to college in Minneapolis.
And what did we study in Minneapolis?
Radio and television broadcasting.
A little bit of a change of pace.
Yeah,
there.
big
well,
change of
you
pace.
did do the Z104 thing in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So we do the Minnesota thing.
Yeah.
And where'd we go from there?
Well, you live with inflatable furniture. When I got to Minnesota, my Veterans Educational Assistance Program money was supposed to be there. There was only $2,000 there,
Oh, wow.
and I couldn't. They wouldn't. It wouldn't get released. And I'm like, no, I got a lot more money. I was in the GI Bill after that, and they're like, yep, no.
Wow.
I go, how long is it going to be before it's released? Well, it's going to be a while. So I'm living in my car in January, February, and March in Minneapolis. It's not warm.
No.
I was jumping dumpsters at Arby's, fighting homeless men for breakfast sandwiches because we're all sitting there waiting for them to walk out. I'm all asshole and elbows
It's
trying to get to
on.
the dumpster. It's on. But yeah. But later on, I'm still going to school too. Full time.
Damn.
How bad do you want something?
Right.
That's what my mom always taught me. How bad do you want something? And I seen how hard, my grandfather worked. And my dad, he worked hard at GM. He went to work every day. And it's like, I finally got a part-time job, at WDGY K102 in Minneapolis. So that was one of my part-time jobs. I worked at chargebacks at Target on Lake Avenue.
Hey, person.
So I had 3 part-time jobs, going to school full-time, and you do what you got to do.
Kicking butt and taking names.
Well, I'm no different than anybody else.
Right.
Nobody's going to give me anything.
Right.
Nobody ever gave me anything. You better go out there and get it, make your mark.
Right.
So that's what I did, and still stayed sober. I figured out there's nothing in this world worth me drinking over. My college graduation, my friend, he calls me Norm. I call him Clavin. The Cheers was big back then. But Craig Christensen is the name. He's one of my bestest friends. He came over before college graduation. He came in my apartment, and the girlfriend I was dating at the time, her name was Pansy. And he came in, and my mom and my aunt from Richland Center, my mom and my aunt were there too.
Yeah.
And he comes in, he goes, wow, you came a long way there, Clavin. I go, what are you talking about? He says, don't you remember, Norm, when you first got here, you're in your car for 3 months, living in your car. And my mom went, what?
Oh.
And she just started crying. I said, what are you going to do, send me money to...
Right.
From time to time, she would send me a $10 bill. Get yourself a pizza. I still have the notes. Go get yourself a pizza.
Nice.
Yeah, but college graduation, got my degree in radio and television broadcasting, and I stayed in Minneapolis for a while. Then from there, I went to Iowa.
Well, there's a big step.
Yeah, I know, right? I went to Iowa. I was there for a number of years, and then I took a job at WYTE Radio in Stevens Point, 50,000 watt country station, doing a morning show.
Oh, nice.
I was really excited about that, but I was commuting from my cousin Debbie. She lived in Madison. I was commuting from Madison to Stevens Point to do a morning show
Oh, my.
because I couldn't find any place to live. I asked the general manager, I says, look, I got a VA home loan. I can use a VA home loan. I can get a house. Can I live in this garage until I find a place? He goes, no, I don't know you well enough to do that. I go, really?
You hired me.
You knew me well enough to hire me to do a country morning show. And he says, yeah, no. I said, okay, I tell you what. How about if you take this job and shove it up your ass? And I left, and I called my mom in Fort Wayne. And then we all loaded, took the U-Haul and went to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I was there for a long time.
And did quite well there.
Yeah, I had a great time. I
Yeah.
met my second wife there. I had a great time. And the PTSD never got any better.
No, because you never addressed it.
You're right. I was sober. I wasn't drinking anymore.
Right, but that ain't addressing it.
Because one of the worst things that ever happened in my life happened, I did to her, not knowing I did it. Mm-hmm. My cousin Shane was getting married, and I was supposed to be the best man. And we were in Richland Center at this hotel in Richland Center. We were staying there so I could see relatives, but he was getting married in Evansville, and Tony tried to wake me up. And one thing back then is don't touch me to wake me up.
Mm-hmm.
They used to light my socks on fire on the ship to wake me up. But don't touch me. That was back then. I'm a lot better. But she just took a shower. Her hair was all wet, and she tried to wake me up, and some of the water in her hair must have touched my face or something. And
Dang.
yeah. And it wasn't good. That was one of the worst days of my life.
So when did you decide to actually address it?
I didn't know what it was, Bill.
Well, yeah.
Because
I
people
get that.
called it shell shock, or they called it this, or they called it everything under the book. And in my reality, I kept saying to myself, "There's people that seen so much more than I did. This can't be related to
Everybody's
that."
mind is different, though.
Well, it wasn't until after I was selling billboards in Janesville about 5-6 years ago that I lost that job. He sold the business, and I had to get health insurance somewhere. I said, okay, I'll go to the VA. I didn't have VA health insurance. And I went to the VA, and I went in there for a physical the following year. And one of the questions on the thing is, have you had dreams due to this, that? And I was like, well, yeah, I just had one the other night. And this was just a little over a year, probably a year and a half ago. And I was like, yeah. And boy, they were on it.
They pounce.
Yeah, I had a great doctor at the VA in Janesville. He was an Army doctor. I didn't hold it against him.
No.
He was really good. Some people don't have very good results with the VA. I was very lucky to say I did.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw this at you because you and I have talked. I can go to doctor number one and have bad results.
Yeah.
Okay? In other words, bad rapport, bad treatment. I mean, a bunch of different things. Then I can go to doctor number two, and I can have just great treatment, great rapport. Same thing with counseling.
Yeah.
And sometimes that third doctor is the one, or that fourth one, or that fifth one. But for all you vets out there, just because you go once and say, well, that was much bullshit, don't give up. Go see another one. Go see another one. Go see another one. Keep going until all of a sudden it sticks, is my thing. I hit a chord and we got static. And I think it's my microphone here. Okay, I think I can live with that.
Okay. Well, and that was it. It's I didn't know what this was or anything else. And after he talked to me when I walked into the office, about a year and a half ago, and he says, "What are you talking about?" I see the sheet. What kind of dreams? I tell him, well, this, that, the other thing is Istanbul, getting a body, a water grenade, all this kind of stuff. And he says, "All right, we're going to set you up. I think it'd be a good idea for you to talk to somebody. This is PTSD." And I said, "Oh." Because for many years, Bill, ever since I got out of the Navy, I pushed everything aside. I tried to bury it deep, and my family doesn't know a lot of this.
Yeah.
And if they did, I don't talk to a lot of my family members because I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. The only thing people I really care about that think about me is, my dad. I got a great relationship with my dad now, and my son Storm. But they put me into the therapy, and this gentleman just got his doctorate, so I was actually his first patient, and he gave me a bunch of homework, validation feelings, and this kind of thing, and wasn't really dealing with the issue.
Right.
And after my 10th meeting, he goes, well, we're done now. I go, oh, we are.
You're cured.
I am. I'm all better. And I'm just like, and I wasn't and he asked me, he goes, how do you feel about that? I said, well, I'm not happy. He goes, really? How come? And I told him, and he says, oh, okay. So that following time I had my physical, about 6 months after that, the doctor asked me how'd it go. I go, it sucked. He goes, how come? And I told him. He got on the phone right there in front of me and called Rockford, got ahead of the lady. She called me that same day. I got up to the VA in Madison, and I talked to a couple people, and then she put me in contact with the therapist that she felt can really benefit me. They really diagnosed what part I need to really get working on. And my first meeting with her, hated her. Oh my God, I hated her. I was like, are you kidding me? Because the first words out of her mouth, and she was very pleasant, very pleasant. She says, okay, we're really going to get your mind dirty. I go, well, first, I'm a Navy guy. I mean,
Right.
It's already there.
Right.
And that's what I was thinking. She goes, I mean dirty like we're going to clean that out, and we're going to find out what's going on here. I was like, oh, okay.
I really, really, really like that term.
Yeah.
I do.
And she goes, and this is how we're going to do it. There's two different ways. And I want you to think about which one you think you should do. One is a group setting where you can talk about all these things in a group setting. I went, oh, okay. Another one is where we can do what's called imaginative therapy, where you recount the actual moment of day one of this, of Urgent Fury or Istanbul or whatever. And I go, yeah, I'm not in. That's what I'm thinking.
I'll go to the group thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what you think, yeah.
She gave me a choice, but she wasn't giving me a choice.
Right.
And she wanted to know where I was at. And I said, well, I'm, this group therapy. She goes, nope. I said, okay. And she goes, oh, we're going to start right now. I go, no, we're not. No, we're not. This ain't going to happen. And we did.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look back at it now, and it's just like, and we did this a couple times a month. Then it got to be once a month. We did this for a while, and I just thank God for her because I haven't felt this good in I don't know how long. And they do what's called a SUDS level. And a SUDS level means where you're at anxiety-wise. 100 means, holy crap, I ain't, nope. Because she says, and she was explaining this to me before, she said, okay, we're going to do it now.
Then you're at 100.
Yeah, she goes, okay, we're going to do this now. What's your SUDS level? I go, 110. Yeah. And I stayed at 100 all the way through it. That first time, I was a blabbering idiot, crying my eyes off, and I didn't want to do this. And afterwards, and this was face to face. This is before COVID.
Yeah.
And we were face to face, and we did this, and she goes, "Good job."
It's a tough, good job, though.
Yeah. Then she goes, "Now we're going to do it again."
Ooh.
I looked at her. I wanted to curse her so bad. But we did this. We talked about some other things first, and how, what, where, all this kind of thing, and then she would say, "Okay, you ready to do the therapy?" Well, sure. And it got to the point where my last meeting with her, which was a little while ago, and she goes, "What's your SUDS level?" I go, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 15. I went from being at 110 to a 15 to talk. I can talk about it. Today is not really a good day for me.
Right.
But, I just really thank God for the VA in Madison putting me in touch with the right person, because that is what I needed. And you're absolutely right, Bill. Just because it didn't work the first time doesn't mean, yeah, that's not for me. Bull crap.
Right.
Go back, because it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
And keep pushing yourself. I'm gonna step on his toes a little bit, and the reason probably why is you're at 110 and it stayed there and stayed there, and the reason he's not having a good day is we have good days, we have bad days, but when this type of therapy that he's talking about, when you close your eyes and start thinking about that, and I don't want you to, because I don't want you to go to 110 on me here.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
Everything comes back. The smell, the feelings, in my case, blood pressure went right through the roof is when you start to relive that again. And you and I have talked about this before. My first death that I ever went on, just saying that first death, I smell that room again. I feel the temperature that it was in that room again. Visually, it actually is more vivid than it was then. And when you keep going through this type of therapy, it's not that it makes it easier to talk about. It's flushing your brain of the dirtiness.
Yeah.
Because it isn't dirty. It's life. But it's the brain just is going, dude, this is too much.
Yeah.
You know? So I get it. Good days, bad days, and multiple attempts at trying to get I really like that dirty mind getting flushed thing. So keep at it, brothers and sisters. Trust me, it's so freeing. Like he's talking about, you still have good days, you still have bad days, but it's easier. It's not only easier on yourself, it's easier on your family, and it's easier on your loved ones, and even people you haven't met. You'll be a lot easier. It's better to be at peace with yourself. I personally still have the nightmares, but I can wake up and I'm doing okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Me
You
too.
know,
Yeah. Me too.
But I still will have bad days.
Yeah.
But I still have good days.
Yeah. Exactly. My bad days are a lot more controllable, because back then I'd have them and I'm like, yeah, nope, done.
Yep.
Or I'd write on the board. That I'm going here, I'm going there.
And you did it sober.
Yeah. Everything.
That's huge, man.
I had a lot of reasons for it. My son Josh, who, I had a lot of reasons, and my son Storm, and the best thing that ever happened to me were my two boys. Without a doubt. And it wasn't until realizing that you've been hanging on to this for 30 years. And that's why I think a lot of people didn't want to have a whole lot to do with me, because of, hanging on to this kind of crap for over 30 years, me being the way I am for 30 years. I wasn't, like a big douche canoe or anything, but it's like, okay, I'm quiet.
You forget I've known you a long time.
Yeah, I know, Bill. You have.
And when you just said that, I'm quiet. I remember hockey.
Yeah.
There was times, hey Kevin, how you doing?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
That's just the way it is. But it's gratifying knowing that there is help out there. I've learned to like myself to the point that I know I'm okay. I know I'm all right. I have a cousin that spent so many tours in Afghanistan. He's in the National Guard out of Richland Center, Nick Grob. I mean, this guy has been through so many tours, and I'm always the type of guy that says, hey, they've always gone through so much more than I ever did, but that's not the point. He's been through a lot of tours. Great guy. My sister's ex-husband, a good friend of mine, he's, Ralph Blessing. He was in the Navy, retired Navy, and one of the greatest guys you'd ever want to meet. And I don't know the things that he's seen, but it's so difficult to even open up back then to people about all this stuff. You didn't know who, you were afraid.
Right.
You were afraid to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, if it wasn't for that Army doctor at the VA, Janesville said, oh, okay, he got on the phone and made a phone call. But it was great. It was gratifying knowing, that I am all right.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's okay to not be okay sometimes.
You bet it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of my family members, friends, they don't know this story, and it's not for them.
Right.
I want all my brothers and sisters that are suffering in some way to get that help.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that we can sit down and share our stories and camaraderie, and that's great. But if somebody is having some of these issues, just make that first step.
And and the importance of you coming on and talking with me today is there may be a brother out there, maybe a sister out there that's going, dude, I got that. I got what they're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a disease. I'm saying they get it.
Yeah.
If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes is just keep trying.
Right.
Just it's kind of like dating women.
Here we go.
Now we're going down a rabbit hole. You might not find that perfect one. First time dating, second time dating, third time dating. But when you do, and you find the therapist that clicks,
Mm-hmm.
it helps. It helps every day. It helps just life in general. Anything else you want to talk about? We were in kind of long here today, which I don't mind. But,
Okay.
I love talking with you. I always have. Anything else you want to cover?
I just hope my grandfather, Francis Cook, is looking down on me, proud of me as much as I was proud of him and am proud of him. I miss him a lot. I really do.
Well, I could say the same thing about my dad. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's proud of you. As always, brother.
All right, brother.
Thanks for coming on.
You bet.
Remember, all you veterans out there, keep your head up and keep moving forward.